they grew up from the Britpop era, but they were never home in the same sort of territory as the rest of the Britpop, stuff. And the kind of sounds that he sort of delves into, I think, is quite 70s, um, and the way he puts together stuff. And if
Mhm.
I was going to sort of, like a lot of Britpop harks to, Beatles stuff, they were harvesting a lot of that.
Mhm.
I would say he harvests McCartney, but in Wings, that sort
Yeah.
of sound.
Okay.
And welcome to another episode of That's Audiophiles. My name's John. His name is Andy. Open your eyes and look within. Are you satisfied with the life you're living? We know where we're going. We know where we're from. We're leaving Babylon. We're going to our fatherland. More on that later. Tune. What a fucking tune. It's Friday. Yes, it is. So that means fish and chips, crunchies, whatever. But also, we listen to a track suggested by one of our wonderful viewers. In this case, the wonderful viewer is Future Sick 100
Hey.
Sci-Fi Vomit.
Yeah, that's exactly where my mind went too. Naturally.
Yeah, I hope in the future he's well. You know, yeah, Future Sick 100. And they have suggested, they dropped a comment on a past episode. We did Supergrass, Richard the Turd,
Yeah.
and they suggested another Supergrass track. It's not me. It really isn't. As yeah. So I know it's well. I brought Supergrass to the channel for Andy to listen to. So it's Andy's turn to go off and listen to this one as well.
Yeah,
Same album, so you should get a nice sort of overall feel from the last one and this one as to what they're all about.
sure.
So yeah,
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it. I really did. I mean, Richard the Third was close to one of my top threes for that year. And I really, really enjoyed it. I remember it having sounds that were oddly familiar to me, and I wasn't expecting that. So that was a pleasant surprise. And having heard that, I now look forward and enjoying it. I now look forward to hearing what It's Not Me has to offer. So, let me go off, give this thing a listen, let you, Future Sick, and everybody else know what I've made of it upon my return. John and I are both marks for this, but that nice, I mean, you can just hear all the strokes on an acoustic strum. Like it just sounds like you hear so much more of it than you do when you hear an electric guitar. I don't know. There's just something like another level of intimacy there between the listener and the instrument when you can pick up on all of that. When you're listening to, an acoustic versus anything that's kind of plugged in. And already that's kind of standing out there. There are these resonant, what sound like electric guitar chords that are happening kind of beneath that more upbeat strum by the acoustic guitar. But yeah, it sounds really good thus far. I mean, to me, it sounds so similar to something that I think you could or would hear from a band like Oasis that I'm like, this is this like firmly in that Brit pop kind of, genre designation. I don't know, but it sounds akin to that kind of music. I'm not saying it sounds exactly like an Oasis song. It just sounds like something they could have written. And I'm only using them as a point of reference because being a Yank, that's really who represented that genre for us. I know oftentimes John will point to Nirvana when talking about the grunge era, but over here there were much more than that. But I would imagine over there that's the one that resonated and got to be the representative sort of that genre. So it's almost the same for me when I think Britpop. My brain instantly goes to Oasis. So let's see where we go from here. Oh yeah. That acoustic is still going. It's almost like a digital didgeridoo that has this like bass kind of effect to it, which is really interesting. And I was not, I mean, I thought the wah was, exotic when it first came, and then now we're getting this. I'm like, what is that exactly? It sounds really cool and interesting though. And it gives like a little bit of, you know, like I said, it's like some exoticism to the song that is otherwise pretty cut and dry, something a sound that a lot of us are all familiar with and have heard before. So that's kind of cool and different. Keys. Yeah. Keys pick up. I'm gonna take it back because I really loved when the song started to build up. The instead of doing like the sustained keys, the key playing started to pick up and match that like acoustic strum tempo, and it added more sound and movement to the song. And it's a short one, so I want to take it back a little bit and kind of like relive that because the momentum had shifted and the sound had become more full, and I really enjoyed that. Yeah, that was a good one. It wasn't a long song, but I like what they did within the song to give it like new life and kind of not make it just seem like this near 3 minute song of all the same stuff happening. They kind of like built on everything, and um, it kept the song fresh. Yeah, this. I mean, it sounded like there was some sort of like regret or lamenting the absence of something by the singer. And usually you think of relationships when you think about that, or when you kind of think about those kind of lyrics or catch those kind of lyrics. There was a lot of like, now it's gone. in the lyrics, like referencing the again this absence of something. So, but it wasn't super sappy or anything like that. So there's almost like a I don't know a more mature look back at what's no longer there and kind of the regret that goes with it, and not like this oh woe is me, kind of tone or mood to the music, which can sometimes be hit or miss. But yeah, I liked this song. I don't think I loved it like I did Richard the Third. That had just more, I don't know, life and snarl to it. And I remember the singer reminding me so much of your man Billy Corgan in that one. Definitely not so much in this track. I still stand by. Definitely sounded like it in the other one, but not in this one at all. Which is nice because then it shows you versatility, or like how wide the soundscape is that this band could tap into, whether it's sounding like this in one case or sounding like something else in another. So yeah, it gives me a better perspective on the different sounds the band could tap into. Yeah, I really did enjoy this track. I'd like to learn more about what it's about lyrically, because it does have this, the bits and pieces that I caught lyrically, um, did have this shade of like regret or remorse for the something that is no longer present. But yeah, I'm sure John can help me out with that as he's done his homework on this one. But yeah, I appreciate it. This is a pretty good shout. I'd love to hear more of these guys. It has been too long since they featured on the channel, and I really do love Richard the Third. So, yeah, let's get back to John and learn more about this track and about the band. So see you on the other side.
Elmer Gantry, you're back. So you've had to listen to It's Not Me, Supergrass. What do
Yeah.
you make of the whole thing?
Well, interesting short little number. And I think you're right with your sort of your suggestion that'll give me an opportunity to hear what they were sounding like at this time. It's the same album as Richard the Third. And it was quite different in structure and dynamics and even instrumentation, and overall mood and sound, and everything really. So at the same time, it didn't sound completely alien from it. It just shows what a band can do, uh, or how far they can spread their wings as far as their sound it goes, or the mood that they're trying to tap into can go. This I don't want to suggest that Richard the Third was like an immature song, but this had a bit of a more mature sound to it than the snarling, kind of vitriol in his delivery that we got, and sort of just the pace and energy of Richard the Third, which I adored. So, I'm not judging it. I'm just holding it up against this, and this having more of a, I don't know. I keep coming to these words like mature or grown up or just, kind of, but there's also a little bit of middle of the roady here stuff too, because they're not going too crazy with their sound. So it's like in some ways, it's got this more grown up sound, but in other ways it's missing some of the stuff that I absolutely adored in Richard the Third. So it's just different. And I think that's worth noting because it's the same album, and again kind of underscores, you know, how the different kind of sounds this band could tap into. Like the song starts with this like 20 seconds of some really pretty and slightly upbeat strumming on the acoustic guitar, and I quickly noted how much you and I both love that sound. There's just something about the resonance, and you can catch everything. There's this weird layer of intimacy that's added when you have and when you hear the sounds of an acoustic guitar. It sounds like they're much more present, or you're there, as opposed to an electric guitar, which has all of this kind of like fabricated sound to it, you know what I mean, an electrified and polished sound to it. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think with a acoustic guitar, you are aware of the human touch involved.
Yeah, yeah, that's a nice way to
Whether
say it.
it's with the picking or with the fingering, either way you hear it, which you don't
Yes,
always hear, you probably almost never hear on an electric guitar. Whatever
yeah,
sound's coming, it doesn't, you can't hear the touch of human finger where you can on acoustic. And that's what makes it intimate, I think,
yes,
straight away.
completely agree with you. Um, but there are also like every like time the acoustic goes through the chord progression, there is this resonant, I think, other guitar that's happening there. And so that's kind of accenting it as well, and kind of
Similar to
like
bow, wow, 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 wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's before the wah. Like
yeah.
then appears this wah guitar, which I assume is the same guitar, just clicking a button and adding this wah effect, and also kind of letting it resonate and cascade while the acoustic continues that paced strumming, which sounds really great. All of it is quite lovely. I guess around the time the wah comes in, the singer joins as well. Um, and but also I catch this really interesting kind of like digital and quite bassy sounding didgeridoo warbling effect that goes on, and I like that as well, to the point where like I kind of wish it appeared a little bit more often throughout the song. Not overkill, because it could be one of those things that are like, hand claps to you, or it's just to be, now it becomes distracting to the song. But I could have used just a little bit more. But I really, really did like that. And as the closest thing to bass this song had to offer, I liked the thrum that would sort of herald in the beginning of one of those notes, I guess, by this instrument, whatever's going on there. I can't imagine it's a guy with a digital didgeridoo. It's just what it sounded like to me. And there's some really nice sustained key chords played as well as the music becomes slightly fuller in sound and progresses. And I, picked up on that, and I really liked those as well. We've had that a lot lately, where there's like these resonant organ sounds that kind of fill the song up and give it like an extra layer to the cake, and that is happening here, and I'm hearing it and I'm enjoying it. uh and this appears to herald in the chorus, as the singer insists it's not him, and laments his inability to find some peace of mind, though he knows what he misses now that it's gone. That's sort of like my synopsis of what I was able to catch here and there. He repeats, now it's gone, and on the third delivery of the line, he adds some urgency and emotion as he kind of belts it out. And this gives way to another one of these curiously brief verses. And again, the keys are more forward in the mix, with the acoustic strumming away as well. And at one point, it's like the keys shift from doing that resonant stuff earlier in the song to like pacing their actual play to mimic the rhythm of the acoustic strumming, and I like that as well. It made it grow and blossom and become fuller, which is a nice little technique to wedge into an under 3 minute song. That I guess they weren't obligated to do, but the fact that they did, I think, kind of adds some variation to it, and it makes it more intriguing. Um, and things shift back into the chorus, but instead of resolving on the lines, now it's gone, as it did in the previous iteration. It now repeats this portion about his understanding what it is that he misses, and it would appear he is resigned to the fact that he now understands he let something go, and it would appear that perhaps, I think, he regrets it. Uh, but after this, we get some great strumming patterns, and then the song gently comes to a close as the acoustic fades. Um, no drums like throughout any of this, from what I could pick up. I thought, and this is another thing that the acoustic guitar can do if it's strummed quickly enough. It can create this, am I hearing a shaker right now effect? Because it's moving, it's like it's got the rhythm of what a shaker would do, and almost the same sort of metallic-y kind of sound as well. So I was wondering if I'm picking up on that, or if that's just my mind playing tricks on me, because the acoustic, regardless, even if that is the only, that would be it as far as like a percussion instrument is concerned, at least from what I could pick up. I wasn't getting anything else, and I felt that, there's plenty of songs out there that kind of do this, and oftentimes I don't know where this falls on the album, but it's one of those great, it's a great way to break up two halves of an album by sneaking in a song that kind of like breaks up the torrent pace of what came before it, and kind of gives you an intermission before the next few songs pick up on that. So if that's what this is, they're not guilty of anything. It's just I'm noticing it, and it's I guess because my expectations are set at Richard III and all the great stuff that was happening in there, I'm wondering, that's interesting that this isn't here. But yeah, this was I liked the song. This was a good song. Um, and I felt the music helped capture the mood of like sort of this regret or lamenting without it being completely somber and down in the dumps. As I mentioned, there is this the whole thing is built around
Yeah.
this kind of upbeat like chord progression. Um, and because it lacked that on the nose, down in the dump sound, that the song felt like it had more of a reflective nature to it as opposed to like a oh woe is me type sound, which I appreciate. And I get it. I think that leads to this why I keep saying it has this mature sound to it, because instead of wallowing in it, it's more observational and there's this perspective kind of injected into the mood. I will admit that the song didn't hit with me as much as Richard III did. Now, I am taking into account that I'm sure that this has its place on the album, as I mentioned a moment ago. So if I heard it in the realm of the entire album, perhaps I'd have more appreciation for the role that it plays within the entirety of the set list, if you will, or the song list on the album. But it doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy it as much as Richard III, it was still really good. And I thought it was also really interesting to hear the singer sound something else other than like what I thought was something akin to Billy Corgan in the first track. This is not like that at all. So kudos to him for being able to wear multiple hats when it comes to being a lead singer. Um, but yeah, nonetheless, it was a really nice opportunity to check out a different aspect of the band that I'd only heard that one time before. And even though it didn't meet my level of enjoyment, it doesn't mean that I wasn't able to enjoy it. I did like this track. I just didn't love it like Richard III. And that's no fault of its own. So yeah, uh, really good track. I appreciate the opportunity to check out something else by these guys. So it was a good shout, great recommendation. And yeah, I did enjoy it.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I will say for my part, I probably think Rich the Third is the best song they've done, in
Oh,
my
well, of
opinion.
course you picked it. So, yeah, I would imagine.
And I thought it was interesting that Future State 100 picked this song. Um, and to be fair, I hadn't listened to the album probably in about 2 years, so I went and listened through it all again, and I had some thoughts on it. It was interesting. Um, I will say, listening to the whole album, and I'll go into it in a bit of detail in a sec, but it kind of reminded me or clarified my thoughts on because it's Gaz Coombs who writes most of the songs, right? Um, and you get this feeling that it is him writing it. His songs are quite crafted, and it's hard to put your finger on what that means. But when you hear other songs, and they grew up from the Britpop era, but they were never home in the same sort of territory as the rest of the Britpop, stuff. And the kind of sounds that he sort of delves into, I think, is quite 70s. Um, and the way he puts together stuff. And if I was going to sort of, like a lot of Britpop harks to, Beatles stuff, they were harvesting a lot of that.
Mhm.
I would say he harvests McCartney, but in Wings, that sort
Yeah,
of sound.
okay.
And it's slightly different, and that's what I got from it. And there's different sounds on this album, but they're all just different shades from the same palette, as it were. When you go onto a design thing program, it says here are the colors of your logo, and these are the other complementary colors, and that's what it all fits within that. You're not got polka dots all of a sudden, or anything going on there. But yeah, so I'll get into it in a bit and then I'll come back to the album. So, as mentioned before, this was dropped in a comment on an episode, Richard the Third, and we went into some detail about the band and everything on there. So I'll drop a link to that episode in there. You can go and check that out. Just to recap the band, Gaz Coombs, lead vocals, guitar, bass. Mick Quinn, bass, guitar, backing, and lead vocals. And Danny Goffrey, drums, percussion, backing vocals. Obviously, they switch roles throughout the different songs.
Mhm.
And Gaz's brother, Rob Coombs, keyboards, piano. He didn't officially join the band until 2002. This In It for the Money album they are is 1997, but he was playing bits and pieces on it.
Okay.
So the song itself couple of things you picked up on. It's interesting. That I totally agree with you with the way the acoustic guitar is just lovely, and then in comes the wah and the other stuff, and it's a really nice, interesting balance. That synthesized sound that comes in, wow, wow, wow.
Wow, wow,
It
wow.
kind of reminded me of like Air and that track we listened to. That sort
Uh-huh.
of way they use that synthesizer as this sort of pulsating bass note, as it were.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Um, yeah, and this song, it didn't immediately spring to mind when they said, "Oh, I have to go back and listen to the album." And then as soon as I heard it, I recognized it. But I find it's kind of a sister song to another song in the album. They're quite similar, and you can almost where it builds, is going to break into that song, but it goes into this song as it were. But anyway, lyrics are not overly complicated. Here we go.
Yeah.
Over their heads, I find a place to crawl away. So many times I heard the things they used to say. Into the night, the conversation fades away, losing the drift of all the things I have to say. It's not me, no, no, not me, but I don't know what is. And I try and find my peace of mind, but I know what I miss. Now it's gone, now it's gone, now it's gone. And there's that nice way. As everyone listens, my head turns away. I know what I'm missing. They have nothing to say. It's not me, no, no, not me, but I don't know what is. I try and find my peace of mind, but I know what I miss. No, it's not. No, it's not me. No, no, not me, but I don't know what is. I try and find my peace of mind, but I know what I miss. Now, there's a website, Alt Rock Chick. I wonder. And she did a little write up. Of the whole album actually, track by track. And this, she wrote, Supergrass. I presume it's a she. I mean, alt rock chick. You can be what you want, but they write, Supergrass dulls it down for "It's Not Me," a reflective song dominated by acoustic guitar strumming, supported by a piano and an annoying synthesizer that comes close to ruining the entire piece. Not a
Really?
fan. Yeah.
Doesn't sound
Um,
like it. I was with her. I'm like, yeah, she used reflective. That's a word I used in my description. The acoustic guitar. Oh shit, she lost me on the synth.
yeah. From a melodic perspective, I find It's Not Me the loveliest song on the album, with Gaz revealing impressive range and sufficient command of the emotional content in the lyrics.
Hmm.
It's a classic coming of age story where one learns that expanding awareness of the surrounding culture engenders feelings of separation and isolation. The differential between self and expectation. There have been a gazillion songs written on this topic, but I get that, thank God, most of them have passed me by. But I get the sense that this one didn't come out of the pop formula playbook, but reflects Gaz Coombs' sincere feelings during a time of life transition, and transition made more difficult by his presence in the public eye.
Ah, okay. Well,
But
no,
that's
I
her
mean,
take.
yeah, it is her take, and I don't know how. I will say it does feel like my first inclination was to think the lamenting of an absence is often associated with a relationship. So that's kind of where my brain instantly went. Now I know that that's not always the case, or oftentimes, sometimes isn't the case. It's more of this like something's missing in my life or in society to fulfill me or to make me feel at home or comfortable. And I think this is more that, having heard all of your lyrics and kind of her like that I missed, and then her explaining it as well. Perhaps there's something to what she's saying, not everything, but I think that's closer to my initial interpretation, which was, oh, it must be about a girl. So yeah.
No, and I'd say sort of 90% of pop songs are
Yeah.
about the opposite sex. I will say I think it's kind of almost both. I think that something's happened in terms of a relationship, and that sort of slicing apart, as it were, has revealed to him that he's disconnected from other things around him because of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you start to see all the gaps and holes that were perhaps filled by something else, or the glue in terms of the social situations and
Yeah, the
everything. It
shit that
just
held it
isn't there
together.
now. I think that's
Yep.
probably it, but
Yeah, that makes sense. And
who
it's
knows?
funny you mentioned Britpop too, because that opening salvo of the acoustic strumming, I could have like, and I know that this is probably uh, uh, a repercussion of me being over here, and the representation of what
Sure.
Britpop was basically drilled down to Oasis. So, like for my perspective, because that's what we were fed, and I explained in my reaction a lot like whenever grunge comes up, the first thing maybe you or any other British person will think of American grunge is Nirvana because that's the one that really broke through over there. So there's this like more singular perspective when there's probably more to the picture, and
Yes.
that's what that I instantly thought, oh, that acoustic guitar sounds like it could have been on one of Oasis's first three albums or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's reassuring to think that I was on the right track with the Britpop, though I think I do recall us talking about that now in Richard III. But it's also like it it's a moment for me to look in the mirror too and go, Branch, there's more to this than just Oasis. Every time you hear Britpop, you know what I mean? There are other bands that were probably beloved more in some circles over there than Oasis was. So a little, come to Jesus for me too as well on the whole, the genre is bigger than my interpretation of the genre or what I was led to believe about the genre 25, 30 years ago or whatever. So
Yeah, it's not really a genre. It's just a bunching together of certain things at the same time. But anyway,
yeah.
yeah. So just to go back to this album, just to sort of sign things off, I will say it's a great album. Apart from the opening track is a title track, and it's really lackluster. And then you go into Rich the Third, which is fantastic.
Mm,
My opinion, best song on the album. And then you have Tonight, which is another decent song, and then Late in the Day, which is, despite it's interesting because that has a wonky synth sort of part in it, but it is excellent as well. And it's kind of the sister song to this in terms of some of the way the melody just goes for like a
okay.
half a bar is really similar, but it goes off in a different direction. But I really like Late in the Day. It's a great song. Um, and then, as is Sun Hits the Sky, which follows on after G Song, which is decent. Going Out is another standout Supergrass song. And then it's this track. And then you get a couple of interesting ones, Cheapskate and You Can See Me. And as I'm listening to it, I'm feeling it's got this sort of strange 70s fairground feel to it. There's a weirdness to it. And then it has a really nice, thoughtful, funky type song called Hollow Little Rain, which is probably my third favorite song on there. And then it closes with a song, Sometimes I Make You Sad. And it always makes me sad because one, it's a really annoying song, and two, it's a terrible closer to an otherwise great
Oh,
album.
man.
It's awful. It's the worst track on the whole album, easily. It's a real shame, but there you go. Um, but so yeah, it's really good, and there's some good. I think as an overall album, they really hits it with this. I think the later albums were decent, and there's some really good tracks, but probably the consistency isn't quite there overall whole albums. Other people may have different opinions. Please drop comments if you have that way. But
Yeah. No,
I mean, things like Grace, as I really love that song, and Moving is another great song as well. But not necessarily the albums. But anyway, I will wrap things up.
okay.
Thank you for listening to this, Andy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
My pleasure.
Futuristic 100, for dropping this recommendation. It's really nice to listen to this again. I
Yeah.
think it's got a lovely poignancy to this song. It may not be of the heights of Richard III, but it has its place definitely within the album.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a great track. Folks out there, tell us what you think. If you like this, do hit the like button, and help get this noticed across the YouTubosphere. Um, Please drop some comments and tell us what you think about this track, this album, other tracks I alluded to by Supergrass. I should Coco. All the good stuff. You know what to say. We're really interested to hear what you think. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And all this meaty goodness could be yours. And of course, you're thinking, hang on a minute, how come they picked one of his tracks? Or hers, or theirs, or whatever's tracks. Well, we could pick one of yours as well. Just drop a comment in any of the episodes. We'll add it to the list. We do need a special telescope in Mexico to see the end of the list, but we'll add it to the list and we will get around to it eventually, honestly. So please let us know what you think. That being said, thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see all of you in the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.